3 ways to reapply your sunscreen over makeup, and why did nobody tell me this? This is how to reapply sunscreen, and before we even start with that, like, first off, if you're even applying sunscreen, give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing more than 97% of the population. Yes, reapplying our sunscreen is important to make sure that we don't get skin cancer. There's UVA and UVB rays that can damage our skin, degrade collagen, cause premature fine lines, aging, wrinkling, turn acne into bigger scars, and cause hyperpigmentation, among other things. But to avoid all of that, a little bit of sun protection is great. Now, when you have makeup on, it's very hard to reapply sunscreen. You don't want to wipe a greasy lotion and destroy your contour, you know, and your fake freckles, right? Right, I feels it. But at the same time, how are we supposed to stay protected? Now, these are things that dermatologists, when I was younger, my parents, nobody ever taught me this. And it really wasn't until recently that I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I figured out 3 different ways to do this that I want to endow upon you. And some of these dermatologists agree with me on, and some of these I actually taught a couple dermatologists, which was really cool. And I think this is also why it's important, like, obviously we need to talk about the use of our products and how we use them so that we can reapply them appropriately. Because sometimes what's done in theory or in an office is very different than the real world. Like, take me to the beach and tell me to reapply my sunscreen over makeup. I'm going to need something very, very different than I would if I were at home in a nice air-conditioned place. Because, you know, I don't want to be at the beach looking cakey. I've also gotten questions, does makeup protect you from the sun? Some makeup has zinc or titanium, like iron oxides in it, and in that case, like, potentially, but usually no. Remember, just because makeup is thick and heavy doesn't mean that it prevents against the UVA and UVB rays. Those are ultraviolet, and visible light, the visible light spectrum, is what we normally see, which makeup can, you know, kind of help against. But that is completely different, a topic for another day, and basically, no, thick, heavy foundation does not necessarily protect you from those high energy UV rays from the sun. But let's talk about some reapplication, and let's just cut to the chase. There are these little reapplication thingies. I have a couple of them, but there are times that you don't want to use this. Now, I have tried a lot of these, but these are, you know, these sunscreen applicators that have the little brushes in them, and you can basically powder them onto your face throughout the day. This should never be your primary application of sunscreen. You should always have like a base of a sunscreen lotion underneath your foundation or makeup, then go in with this throughout the day. But sometimes this isn't right for people. So for example, if you're on the beach or if you're sweaty or if your skin is dewy, you don't want to be doing this because it's really hard to clean these little brushes. And if you do that, it's going to make you look cakey and greasy. Like, have you ever applied a dry powder to a wet face? Exactly. So when this should be used is if you're indoors, if you're in a temperate climate, if you're looking to decrease a little bit of shine. This is absolutely lovely. But even some dermatologists that I've spoken with don't recommend doing things directly from the powder. They say actually tap some off into a lid or a container, get some there, and actually use like a sponge to press this on, or an additional brush to really press this in. Because if you think about it, I want to test this out, but some of these little brushes, I'm like, okay, I'm applying the sunscreen powder, but am I just rubbing, you know, the sunscreen and the makeup off my face? Like, is this really giving me an SPF 30? So a lot of the derms that I've worked with and that I've spoken to recommend putting this in a separate container and actually patting it on just to make sure that you're getting adequate coverage. Now, one of my favorite brands for reapplication is this one, but this one makes a mess. This is from Jane Iredale, and what I love is that they have multiple tints, and it's probably the smoothest brush I've ever used. I've also tried the Supergoop, the Sandra Lee MD, the Colory Science, as well as the Isden, and these are all excellent. But we're gonna talk about this in the future, but is it just me or are they all very, very similar? And some of them have the same problems with, you know, getting the powder out of the brush or the brush not being smooth enough, etc. So that's a video for another day. I do still recommend these. I do still absolutely love these. Oopsies, when they work. You see my point? You see my point in case right there? Get back in your cage. But this one is phenomenal, and what's cool about this is that they actually give you these little refills. And again, you do have different colors for every single skin type and tone, and again, the brush is super luxurious. The only thing about this, as you can probably see from mine, very easy to spill. You don't just take this and shove it up the sunscreen butt. You don't just, I was gonna say hole, but that didn't sound right, so then I said butt, but that sounded just as bad. You put this in here, okay? But you don't just shove it, you have to shove it and twist. Basically, I've made the mistake where this thing falls out. You gotta I was gonna say screw it in, but you don't. I am so sorry. Just do it properly and then you can reapply your sunscreen. And again, this is great for if you are indoors, if you are not on a hot, sweaty day. This is awesome. Enjoy. Now, what happens if you are out and about, or you do have a little bit more of dew or shine to your face, or let's just say you're also kind of skeptical about some of the powder applicators and you're like, yo, Cassandra, I just want a really nice full reapplication of sunscreen, but I don't want to mess up my face. What do I do? This next tip, nobody taught me, but this works best over light coverage foundation. So light foundation, a light airy look, but it's a little bit dewy. Take a sunscreen serum, or what even is a sunscreen serum? We have to talk about that. This is one from Zitstica. It is the Sunscreen Serum with UVA and UVB protection. But basically, just take a liquidy sunscreen. If it has form, so if you pour it out and it like has like a blob, it's gonna be too thick. Look for something that's a little bit runny. And when you do, you take this on a damp beauty blender or a makeup sponge, and you can just take this and you can actually reapply this to your face. And don't do the Gwyneth Paltrow, do the entire face. Don't just do the highlights, like literally do the entire face. And yes, do wet the sponge first so that your sunscreen doesn't get absorbed into the sponge. But this is a really great way that if you're wearing a light coverage makeup look and you want to reapply, you can actually get this all over your face without messing up your makeup. Again, make sure that you're using a lightweight serum-y like sunscreen. If you're using a goopy sunscreen, it's gonna move your makeup everywhere and just be a gigantic mess. But this is one of the best ways to reapply, in my opinion. It looks great, it looks natural, it really blends into the skin well, and it is not only perfect for reapplication, but it is also very refreshing, especially if it's like a warm day. It's kind of like a cool sponge that you dot onto your face, and that just feels really good. Now, what happens if you do have thick foundation or thicker makeup, you used a setting spray on your face, and it's time to reapply? That's when I would actually recommend one of the spray sunscreens. The only caveat here is please don't get this in your mother eyes. There are different spray sunscreens that I would recommend. The ones that I've used on my face normally have to be organic/chemical filters. If you use the inorganic mineral filters, they end up a little bit pasty. So especially for the spray type, go for an organic/chemical sunscreen. But there are a few that I recommend. This one from Love From Yours, I absolutely love this. It's really good. There is also one from Pacifica that just came out that I've been enjoying. But basically any kind of spray sunscreen, even the Elta MD is a good one. You can spray this in a light mist right over your face. Now here's the caveat, don't get it in your motherfucking eyes. And this is super painful, and at first when I was like respraying over heavy foundation, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? This is painful. You wanna know what to do? This is what you do. Get a pair of glasses, sunglasses, reading long distance glasses, whatever that you really don't care about. Preferably that's like a little bit small so you're still protecting your forehead, but you literally do this and you spray right across your face. And it's like hard not to blink, but basically you get a full sunscreen application through the spray on your face, but you don't get it in your eyes. I still blink. Even though I know I'm protected, I still blink. It's a reflex, okay? But this stuff works so well. And even though your glasses become a little bit sunscreeny, at least your face is protected and you don't get it in your eyeballs. And again, for super heavy foundation, this is the best thing that I've been able to find. And if you just find a sunscreen that is very similar to your setting spray, it works like clockwork, assuming that the clock actually works. It's so good. I highly recommend. And again, right now, this is the Love From Yours. This is one of my favorite to reapply in spray format. I would totally recommend this. The Elta MD has one in a spray can that I love. Pacifica as well has a really good one that I'm trying out. And then you just want to make sure this is not your favorite pair of sunglasses or regular glasses or reading glasses so that, you know, you can wipe them off and maybe not use them, but maybe keep them with your sunscreen for reapplication purposes. And again, nobody prepared me for this. Nobody helped me navigate this confusing world of burning off my epidermis and, you know, damaging the DNA in my cells when it comes to sun cancer and trying to get around that while also using and enjoying makeup. But these are the 3 application methods that I wish someone would have told me and that I am here to bestow upon you, because as your acne big sister, it matters to me that you know about your skin, that you understand your skin, that you appreciate your skin, that you protect your skin, and that it returns the favor. So do remember to reapply your SPF, remember to stay hydrated, and always remember to be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.